Reconvene, brothers. Thank you for joining us in our closing session of our housing conference. I'd be remiss if I didn't just start out by saying thank you for your service to Phi Gamma Delta. You guys have you put in countless hours. It's behind the scenes in a lot of cases. This past 12 months with COVID has been crazy and challenging, to say the least. And I just want you to know we really appreciate you and the service that you're giving to the fraternity. So thank you so much. Second, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to Dio for all the work that he's done helping us organize this conference. Want to thank Rob as well. You guys have just been a great support to 1848 Housing, and you're appreciated. Again, as much as it pains me, Dio has done a good job. He's done a great job in helping us, and we're really appreciative of him. So thank you, Dio. I also want to just thank our presenters. We have I see a number of them are on this session. And so want to thank Columns and the team that presented, the team from Upper Crust, CSL and Holmes Murphy. They all did a great job. I popped into all those sessions. So we're really appreciative and we're really lucky to have really great partners. So thanks to them. The bulk of this session is going to be question and answer. There might have been some questions that came from the opening session. If there were, Dio captured those and we'll have those. I want to encourage you now, if you have questions that you would like to raise in this session, use the chat feature to present those, and we will address them in the order received. So just want to share that. Okay, this session, we really just have one agenda item, and that is to make sure that you are fully aware of some of the resources that have been developed over the past couple years by 1848 Housing. And so in a second, we're going to jump over to the website and actually show you these. But what we've put together for you is a variety of tools and resources, including best practices, sample contracts. We have a library of our webinars. We have the reserve study tool that Jim Lee did his presentation, linked there for you. We have a list of preferred partners and other vendors that we feel would be good resources for you, and a number of other tools and resources. So let's take a quick look. This is the phigam.org website. You're going to find housing, you're going to navigate to the graduate tab, and then you'll see the housing option under the graduate tab. So when you click there, that's going to take you then to the main housing page. And there's a couple different ways to find things from here. You see that there's the gray box on the right that can take you to some of the sections, or you can just simply scroll down. And so there's this first section, tools and resources. We put together, I mean, we've spent, dozens and dozens of hours trying to create and prepare resources. They're all works in progress because the world of housing is changing. But for instance, you can click on the best practices tab, and we've identified just about 30 best practices for house corporations in different categories. And then if you, Dio, you can just click on one of those, doesn't matter. You'll see what the best practice is. And then in many cases, none in this example, it doesn't look like, but then there'll be links to resources. So there's a great example where we're suggesting inspections, and then we provide you with a variety of checklists that you can use so that you don't have to try to invent these things yourself. So there's a chapter house self-inspection form. That's something we'd encourage you to do monthly. But then there's a checklist for breaks, winter and fall, summer, closing kinds of checklists. So we think that we've compiled some great tools for you. And so part of what the goal of this session is to make sure you're all aware that these are here and available to you. Dio, we can go back up to the main. Yeah, there we go. So in addition to the best practices, we've got some different tools in regard to COVID. If you still need those, or if you have a late emerging situation with COVID, we've got a bunch of different COVID resources. We've got sample contracts, as you can see. We've got some resources from Holmes Murphy, our liability insurance provider. There's the link to the reserve study. And then we've got some various kitchen resources available to you with our partner from Upper Crust. Another section of what we have on here that I think you should be aware of are some information and resources regarding communications. If you sat in on Column's presentation, they talked about the importance of regular communication with your graduate brothers. In my session, I reminded everybody it's really our obligation, right? When you're serving on a house corporation board, you're acting as the fiduciary for your shareholders, and your shareholders are the graduates, and the shareholders deserve regular information and updates from you. And so we've got some tools and resources listed there. We've got all the prior newsletters that we've published, and so those are there. We've got our preferred partner section, and so there you'll be able to have access to our preferred partner contact. And then we've also got other vendors, other property management companies, architects, property insurance. And so again, we're trying to make it easy for you to identify. These are companies that we've identified that are known quality companies in their field. So at the very top of the screen, if we go back to our gray box real quick, Dio, one last thing that I want to just highlight before I move on is our webinars. And we're pretty proud of the fact that we've been putting on about 6 to 8 webinars a year. And these all have been recorded. And so you can go back and listen to Fundraising 101 and Fundraising 201, which was done by Columns to get, for instance, better information about the fundraising process. We've also, Holmes Murphy has done a presentation on reducing liability. We've done a session on the reserve study. And all the sessions today have been recorded, and they'll be added to this list as well. But there's some great resources here in these webinars, and great, by the way, way to educate new board members, maybe brothers that haven't had much house corporation experience. What a great tool to be able to say, hey, watch the webinar on food service to understand a little bit about the kinds of issues that we should be paying attention to in our own kitchen. So we really just wanted to make sure that this was something that you're aware of. If you have suggestions for us on additional tools and resources that you'd like us to add, please let us know. You can use either the chat feature, or even better, just send an email to housing@figam.org, and that way we can look at those and see what tools and resources you feel would be helpful. Okay, so again, I guess the big takeaway of this is we don't want you to feel like you have to invent everything that you need. And so that's where our heart is when it comes to developing these resources. We want, frankly, also for you to share. If you've developed some tools or resources that you think would be helpful for other house corporations to use, I'd love for you to share those via email with us at the housing@figam.org website, and we can share our expertise and experiences with our brothers from around the country and Canada. Dio, let's just jump to the next slide. The last thing I wanted to share just is and gives me an opportunity to thank my fellow committee members. You can see the brothers listed below, and boy, what a talented group of men, and what a privilege it is for me to be able to work with these guys as we work to advance housing. So we've changed our structure slightly about 6 months ago, where we're breaking down the committee into areas of specialty. And you can see those specialties listed. So what that enables us to do is send you to kind of a specialist. So if you're focusing on renovations or fundraising, we're going to direct that inquiry, for instance, to Jason. Or if it's a food service related area, we're going to direct that to Dave Schreck. And so real excited about this new structure. And each of these men are working to build out a committee, a subcommittee to support them. So as you can see on the note below, we're always looking for a few good men to join the housing committee. So if you're interested in any of these areas and you have some expertise to add, we'd love to include you on the committee or on one of the sub areas so that we can include your expertise as we continue to work and support house corporations. Okay, that's my extent of my closing comments. I really wanted to make sure we had the most time available for Q&A. Again, thank you for participating today, and let's see what questions we have in queue. Dio, I'll let you moderate that.
Thanks, Steve. We had one from the opening session that I'll start off with. Does it make sense for House Corporation members to get ServSafe training?
Okay. Any of our committee want to jump in on that?
Steve, can you hear me?
Yes.
It wouldn't hurt if you're involved with the food service in your operation, but the key people to get ServSafe certified is your cook or your chef. If you've got a contract organization, they should have all of their employees be ServSafe certified. If you have a kitchen manager, be good for them to do that.
Great question. Thank you. And thanks, Dave. Dio, any others?
Sure, Steve. The second one we have is from Kelly Harris, the Zeta Deuteron house mom. Kelly, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question regarding the lighting the flame under undergrads
Yes.
and igniting passion.
Okay, let's see. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. I don't have a strong anything, and I say I because I feel like I'm an unofficial Fiji. Because I don't have a strong anything in the corporation or any kind of leadership, I know there are only certain things I can do, but what can I do to try to get them to understand what an amazing opportunity and organization Fiji is?
Kelly, I'm gonna see if any of the committee members or any of the brothers that are on the call want to jump in to try to answer this. But I just want to comment and just say how thankful I am that they have somebody like you there that recognizes the value of the fraternity experience and what Phi Gamma Delta stands for. Boy, if we could clone you and put you in 30 or 40 more houses, how cool would that be? So let's see who has some responses for Kelly. Anybody on the committee or anybody on the
Kelly, this is Mark Krill. I'm always happy to try to help you in any way too, if you want. I'm not sure what the status is, but maybe we can take it offline of your house core, but always happy to help mentor and help out in any way. Maybe to help give some support and guidance. And I'm sure the local Phi Gam structure can help as well, as far as our section chief and PLs, et cetera. But again, that's our job, is to try to help mentor to where we can to help facilitate and support.
brothers?
Thank-
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you'll be hearing from me.
Brothers, feel free to unmute and jump in with a response if anybody else has some wisdom for Kelly. Kelly, I assume that you have a PL and a board of chapter advisors there?
No,
Okay, so I would say that would also be something that DO can be helping with. Part of DO's role is to help recruit graduate brothers for chapters. And I'm sure there's a long and understood history of maybe why we don't have a PL or an active BCA there. But, to Dave's point in his keynote, it's a three-leg stool, right? There's a house corporation, the BCA and the PL. And really without all three of those entities operating well, the chapter is going to be a little bit out of balance and not operating optimally. So that seems to be maybe something that we need to help the chapter figure out why they're not able to attract somebody, or it could be geography, it could be limited graduate brothers in the area. I don't know enough about your situation.
mhm.
Does
Just a lot.
Yeah. Who else has a comment for Kelly?
Kelly, this is Taylor Smith out at Berkeley, California. I recognize you're in a very challenging position, so I echo the comments about trying to work with the PL. I think one thing I've found is if you can identify, a small number of the brothers who are kind of the influencers, if you will, and seem to have, it's not necessarily going to be the chapter leadership, although obviously having them on the same page is critical, but trying to find some of the guys, preferably some of the older brothers if possible, who agree about, maybe the focus of the chapter is not exactly where it should be, but trying to work with them as best as possible to just have kind of a push down effect on reinforcing some of the goals that maybe aren't being focused on as much, and just reevaluating what it does mean to be in a fraternity. It's in no way is it an overnight type of change, but really pushing on those types of individuals, because the only way it really is going to change is from within. So finding the guys who might be best positioned to help change that culture is hopefully a start.
Mhm. Thank you so much. My niece is a sophomore at UC Berkeley.
Go Bears.
Great place. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Kelly, I have a suggestion for you.
Uh-huh.
This is Lynn Schroeder. I'm from Iowa State. Go to the fraternity magazine, and I find that the fraternity has such a wealth of talent clear across any spectrum, professional, whatever it is. And just to mention to the guys at night, say, hey, did you know Mike Pence is the Fiji? He's the vice president of the United States, or he was.
Mhm.
Just a 5-second little thing about, somebody at your school that might be a Fiji that's in Fiji graduate that might be a tidbit to share. Or also, I don't know if you can access the fraternity archives at the website.
Yes.
Just go in there and say, okay, hey, on this date, 200 years ago, this happened.
Well, honestly, to tell you the truth, I've done that. When I started 6 years ago, they didn't even have a photo album. Now they have 19. And so I've done the history since the beginning of Phi Gamma Delta and then the beginning of Zeta Deuteron, which was 1868. And of course, headquarters now has the oldest fraternity composite that I think they know of. And it was from our fraternity, 1891, that was done by a very famous photographer during the Civil War and post-Civil War era. So I've got all this history. They're not interested in that. I've got the history of the rebuild after the fire when the brother died. I've got all of that. I just can't get them to think how cool that is. And I think it's amazing.
Ellie, this is Dave Schreck. You and I have spoken before.
We
haven't
have, yes.
I hope I'm not being too direct, but the section chief and the field secretary should be coming to you, finding out what your needs are, to say, this is how we're going to help you. A house mother cannot
And
initiate this process on her own.
right. I agree. I will do anything I can do because I love what I do, but I just really need some help.
Well, Kelly, we'll get Dio and others on staff to reach out to you and see what we can do to help you. So thank you for your
Oh, and thank you for this.
service and yeah.
Thanks for letting the girl join.
Yeah,
It's been
no,
amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Brothers, do we have any other questions? You can unmute yourself and ask. We'll take a second, let anybody respond.
Hi, this is Kent Collins from Tau Deuteron, University of Texas at Austin. Do the house mothers get invited to these? How do you register those people? Like our house managers and our house mother.
Yeah, I'm not sure specifically if you're talking about the conference, but if you want more people to be receiving like our newsletter, the House Corporation newsletters or other information, you can let Dio know through housing@phigam.org and say,
Okay.
hey, please make sure these email addresses are getting, copies of House Corporation related communications.
Okay.
And brothers, that's a great point that you raised just in general, which is our efforts are only as good as you help us make them. So if you're not providing us with updated rosters of all your board members, then our communications and our information is only going out to a narrow or limited pool of people. So if you, I know headquarters asks you for updates of those things, but if you haven't sent yours in, or if you've had changes, be sure to remember to send them in so that we can make sure everybody's in the loop. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good question, good comment. Other comments, other questions?
Is this going to be an annual event?
That's a great question. What do you think? Should it be an annual event?
Yes.
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 Good.
Yes.
Yes. Good.
And
Yeah,
if Kelly wants to move up to the University of Idaho, she would have a whole support staff with the BCA, Board of Chapter Advisors, and a PL. So you'd be more than welcome to move to Moscow, Idaho.
I've been to Moscow, Idaho. Nice little town.
Bidding war for Kelly. Do I
Yes.
hear?
Let's keep it going.
That's great.
No, actually, the corporate position would be good for a girl.
By the way, there will be a follow-up survey that'll be going out in the next, I would guess week. So please be sure that you give us feedback on that so that we can continue to improve this and make it a better event for you. So ideas on other sessions, comments on speakers, all that would be really helpful to us. So be sure to be candid in your feedback with us so we can improve. What other questions or thoughts, even comments or thoughts on how we can improve the housing conference since we're together? So we're open to all your feedback.
Steve, if I may, can I put you all on the spot?
Sure.
Maybe this is for the committee as a whole, and maybe a way to help round us out here. But if there's one thing you would like House Corporation members to do following this conference, what would it be?
Why don't we start? We'll start with John. What would be one of the things that you'd like a House Corporation to do?
Excuse me. I'd like for them to communicate what they learn in these sessions with their other members of their House corporations, get everybody involved, not just the president or the leader. I'd like to see greater involvement.
Okay. Jim Lee? I think you're muted, Jim.
You're right. Sorry. And then to act on and what you've seen and heard. Do something, not by yourself, as John mentioned. Enlist the help of others. You can't do it all yourself, but do something. Try to chip away, and maybe you take 3 things you learned from this and spread it out over the next year, and find people to take ownership of those things and go with it.
Great. Mark?
I would invite anybody to make sure that if we're missing, this is always a challenge, is make sure we have everyone's email, contact addresses. So on your house corporation, so everybody can get the communication and spread the wealth around.
Good. Dave?
My feedback is free of charge. If you don't contact me, it's your fault.
Okay, great. And I think that's it. Did I get everybody? Dana, sorry.
All right. Yeah, technically not on the committee there, but I got the Archon collateral duty there. For those who don't know me here, I'm on the Arcanet, was elected this past August, and I have a collateral duty of being a part of the 1848 board and everything. So I've been, with these guys every month and everything. So Mark kind of stole my thunder there with keep the database updated there. It's kind of scary how few names are there, given how many people we know are on house corporations there across the whole enterprise. It's a pretty short list. So yeah, please scrub those lists. Make sure we know of everybody who's there who's not not getting these communications who should be. Also, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you all for putting this together. Thank you, Dio, again for putting all the technology behind the scenes there, and Rob. And thank you all for participating and giving up a Saturday afternoon. And here in Virginia, it's a pretty nice day out there, and we're all giving that up. So thanks to you, Steve, and the rest of the committee for great work we're doing and continue to do there. And definitely need to do this on an annual basis there. I will lobby hard for that.
Good.
Thank you.
I guess, brothers, my suggestion and hope, boy, yeah, I mean, I could do, there's 3 or 4 things, but what's the expression? Money's the root of all evil. Well, money is also the root of all success when it comes to a house corporation. So I think the takeaway that I would give you guys is look at your finances. Look at whether you're charging enough rent. And if you aren't within 10%, of the dorms and area housing. Work hard to get your rents up to that level. If you are not collecting money for long-term improvements, like Jim has alluded to in the reserve study, start putting money aside because without money, it's hard to do things. And if you're not bringing in the income that you should, you're gonna continue to be frustrated. So look at your finances and be courageous. We talk about courageous leadership with undergraduates all the time. And sometimes, and I think Dave's keynote was just so powerful for that reason, that he was just not afraid to do the right things, to tell people, hey, you got to live in the house. That's your bylaw, that's your rule. You got to do it. And if you don't, then I guess you don't want to be a FIGAM. And that's courageous to be able to take a stand like that. And so, yeah, that was long-winded. Sorry. Okay. We have other questions or comments? Anything come in?
There was just one more thought shared from David Salazar concerning informational sessions for new and developing chapters or those that may not have a housing corporation. So, Steve, I think that's definitely something that we'll be taking into consideration and discussing more as we lay out communication plans for this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's an area that Mark oversees on our committee. And so, the idea there is for more of a mentorship for new house corporations or chapters that are thinking about starting a house corporation. So again, you can reach out to housing@figam.org and we'll direct your inquiry over to Mark and connect you guys. So,
By the way, Steve, this is Mark. I just want to say real quick, thank you too. I saw today in a couple of things, some of our active undergraduate presidents who were engaged and involved. And so I thought that was fantastic too.
Well, brothers, we are at 4:00. So I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving up 4 hours on a Saturday. Thank you for your service to the fraternity. And we really do hope that this was enlightening for you, that we achieved our goal of helping you take that next step, whether it's from great to incredible or anywhere else in between on that journey. We really do hope that we've added value to you in the various activities and sessions that we've offered you. And we look forward to serving you. We're here to serve you. And please reach out and let us know what we can do for you. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you for participating.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you. Yeah, thanks. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.